today we're gonna cover important questions. Is what blocks people from entering DeFi, especially for non-crypto native users. So I wanted to cover this question because when it was last summer and DeFi was exploding, I was accessing these coins that were only available on decentralized exchanges. And I was talking to my friend, explaining them how these tokens were gaining a lot of traction. And they were like, oh, how can I access this ecosystem? How can I get in and access these great yields or these great coins who just started and that are not listed on centralized exchanges? So today, if you look at a centralized exchange user, this is how he sees DeFi. But eventually, in most cases, he cannot get in because it's too complex. There's a lot of frustration. So if you look at how many crypto users there's in the world, there's around, by the end of 2021, there were 300 million crypto users. And if you compare that to DeFi, there's only 4 million users. So that's 100 times less. But in the end, if you compare Bitcoin and what DeFi is trying to achieve on certain aspects, it's pretty similar. Now, if you look at also the trading volume that was happening on centralized exchanges and on decentralized exchanges, you can clearly see that in April, I don't think it's working, but in April here, you can clearly see that there was $2 trillion that was traded on decentralized exchanges and $2.3 trillion that was traded on centralized exchanges. But then at the end of December, there was the same amount that was traded on DEXs, and there was a lower amount on centralized exchanges. So you can clearly see that decentralized exchanges are probably going to eat the world. And I have a question for you guys. Do you think that in the future, all the financial markets and everything that's on Wall Street will be on DeFi or will be totally decentralized in some way? Or do you think there will be always a centralized parts, or could we go fully decentralized? What? Is anybody? But do you think technically it's possible? Do you think we'll be able to do that?
Yes.
Eventually. Okay. Okay. Cool. So now let's try to understand why some certain users don't want to enter DeFi. What are the cool things about CeFi and what are the less cool things about DeFi? Now, I would like to play a little game with you guys, cut the room in half, and I'm gonna put on some words here, and this part of the room will be CeFi, and this part of the room will be DeFi. So let's say I say less reliable cross-chain bridge. So here's DeFi and here's CeFi. What would you, under which category would you think the less reliable cross-chain bridge would be? DeFi, for sure. And what demands more technical knowledge? And eventually, what's a simple Web 2 access? CeFi. But to make it short, eventually, as you can see, there's many pros and cons on each side and that users are looking for. Even users on centralized exchanges like the fact that someone is holding their funds, they can trust the exchange. Even I think most of you guys have some funds on some centralized exchanges when you want to exchange against fiat or so on and so forth. So there's a lot of pros and cons on each side. But I think we can go towards a side where most of these advantages that you see in CeFi can come into DeFi eventually. Like, for example, simple Web 2 access, or maybe easy fiat on and off ramp, or possibly demands less technical knowledge. And all these things could be into DeFi, but eventually there's a lot of things that needs to be done, even on the technical side, in order for chains to scale, like have less fees. As you can see today, there's really high fees. You in most cases, you want to buy a token, you need a gas token to buy that specific token, and it's really less user-friendly. So just to know, what was your guys' first operation when you got into DeFi? What was the first thing you guys did? A swap? You bought a shitcoin? Anyone else? What was the first operation you guys have done? Just you in most cases, what people do is buy a token on a decentralized exchange. That's the first thing in 90% of the cases that people do when they get into DeFi, is try to buy a token which is not listed on the centralized exchanges. And if you ask people who are less technical how that journey was, you can clearly see that in most cases, it was really time-consuming. It demanded a lot of efforts. You had to explain, give him tutorials, how to set up an RPC and everything, chain ID. And in most cases, for non-crypto native users or someone who's not, I would say, tech-savvy, it's really complex. And so if you analyze the current user journey today for someone who wants to swap, get into DeFi and do these operations, they have to create a wallet. They have to save their seed phrase. That's, in some certain cases, people are like, what is this? What the fuck? I've always been, used to have some third party who can manage my own funds. And then you have to tell them, oh, you have to buy that underlying assets. You have to set up the chain ID, send your AVAX to your wallets, and then find your token that you want, and then interact with the DEX. So for us, it's simple, but in general, it's not that so easy. So that leaves the user with a lot of frustration because he's like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. The security aspect is a bit weird. It demands that he understands certain things. So in a lot of cases, people are like, okay, I don't want to get in. It's too complicated, or it's too risky, or it costs too much, and so on and so forth. So that's one of the most pain points that you see of why people are not entering DeFi. And so eventually, how do you think we can improve this journey? What are the things that we could do here, around here, to make it, I would say, streamlined and to make it simple for anyone to get in? Wallets, I think the wallet creation is pretty, you can't pass that. Or you guys have any ideas of what could be done to solve that?
So I'm at step 1 right now.
Yeah.
Great if I can skip to step 7.
To step 7?
Yeah.
Okay. And how would you do that?
I don't know.
All right. Yeah, for sure. So this is the, oh, sorry.
The Magic Link key creation works quite nice, I think. It's a really nice tool for onboarding.
That's a good one, eventually. And so this is what we're trying to do with Ondefy. We're trying to bring people into the space with the most seamless experience and the easiest way as possible. So how do we do that? You mentioned Magic Link eventually. That's for sure. That's something we use. People just log in with an email, something he's familiar with, doesn't have to set up wallets, chain ID, and so on and so forth. And then what's cool about Magic Link is that it has all these integrated chains. So the person does not have to set up like thousands of wallets. He can just, with his email address, access different chains and different protocols. And so what we've done is that we've integrated different types of DEX aggregators so that if the user was looking for a token, he can access that liquidity pretty easily. So we've also integrated CoinGecko API. So in the end, the user can just search for a token, and then he can just buy it directly with us and with the routing of on-ramp protocols. So maybe this is a bit, I would say you can't really visualize what I'm talking about, but I will run through a quick demo so that you guys can understand what we have built. Guys, hello? You can run the demo? But yeah, to add a bit more to it is we really want to create a sort of a centralized user experience, but directly on chain. With everything that a centralized exchange can propose, you have it on chain. You even have more services. You have more products that are easily available. But yeah, so the idea is just you put in your email address. And I don't know if some of you guys are familiar with Magic Link, but you don't even need a password. You just receive an email, and you can just directly from my email address directly. See, I've logged in 1,000 times. But yeah, you just log in. You receive an email that will authenticate the user. So yeah, it's not as fast as a centralized exchange, but eventually that's something that will be fixed in the long run. So you arrive on a pretty similar dashboard as if you were on Coinbase or Binance, And then you have your wallets with all your different assets from different chains. The same thing as on Binance. We're trying to copy some aspect to it. Then you can select your currency where you want to see your assets in. And then, yeah, you have more information on a specific token. Here I'm going to click on Avalanche eventually. So what we've done is we've integrated CoinGecko API. So you can see like, okay, Avalanche is a pretty interesting coin. And then you can see any data you would like to see eventually. And then what I'm going to do eventually as the first DeFi user is buy a token, because this is what I wanted to do in the first place, and this is what most people do when they're into the DeFi space. So here I can just select a token as if I was on CoinGecko. I'm going to select Banky. I'm going to have a quick look, trying to understand what it is about, if I should buy it or not. And I'm just going to click on buy. Here I can enter a specific amount in dollars. This is something where has not been implemented yet. It's in the works, so eventually you'll be able to directly select the currency and buy any specific token you would like to acquire. As if you were on CoinGecko, you could be able to buy any token. But here I'm just going to swap it against crypto, which I already have in my wallets. So I'm going to select AVAX, and my pre-selected token is already there. So I just type in the amount of Banky I would like to buy. And here what's cool is that you don't have an extension. You don't have something you have to manage. You just click on swap. You don't have to approve anything. Everything is done for you, slippage, and so on and so forth. And here what happens eventually is the transaction is broadcasted for you directly on the Avalanche chain. So you don't have to find a specific DEX and interact with that DEX. And what's cool about Avalanche is that sentiment transaction is pretty fast. So my transaction is done. But yet again, we're not as fast as a centralized exchange. Hopefully, in the long run, chains will get better and we'll be able to have faster transaction throughputs. And as you can see, I can check my transactions. I can see what I've done in the past. But eventually, after you bought a specific token, you want to access more of DeFi. And that's, like here, I can put my token on a watch list, so I can follow the price. When I get in, I can see how much my token has pumped or not. And yeah. Then what I want to do is I want to obtain yields on my assets. So we've integrated Aave for the moment, but we'll be integrating more protocols in the long run. But as you can see here, it tells you, okay, you got USDT. You can yield those assets because they're not doing anything. You can gain interest on it. So here I'm just gonna deposit USDT, so then I can obtain yield on it. So really want to make it seamless for that specific user. So as of now, we have integrated some basic features, but eventually we'll be able to integrate like socket network for bridging assets, and also like fixed rates and different chains, because as of now we only have EVM chains will be integrated, Solana, Terra, and propose some curated DeFi products for end users. But this is a first step. As of now, you can only access it with Magic Link, but we know that in the long run, eventually, the wallet's access to different types of platform will be there. It's just like with emails. But as a first step entry, it's interesting because it's really simple for them. And then if they want to create a wallet, have access to more stuff, they'll be able to access it directly on our platform. But yeah, this is a bit it about Ondefy, and let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, so we've integrated different types of DEX aggregators. And if a token is not on a DEX aggregator, it falls back to another DEX aggregator, which finds the liquidity for that specific token. But some just have no liquidity, so.
But all of the main list of the token, it comes from CoinGecko?
Yeah, and we're going to implement CoinMarketCap and see how we can overlay that, because some tokens are not there.
And eventually there's going to be, I guess, a whole lot of tokens that don't have liquidity anywhere.
That we won't have, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then eventually you'll be able to put in the token address to access it if needed. But yeah, there's also other websites like Dex Tools or stuff like that that has more token, and we'll see how maybe we'll implement that in the future. Yeah.
My major concern is about security. We are here interacting with DeFi without the have your keys or it's not your coins. And with this easy access by email, isn't that compromising all this security education that crypto runs to people? Because we all know that emails are somehow less secure than many things.
Yeah, eventually, we've not showed you yet, but there's a Google Authenticator if you want to withdraw and do certain types of action. There's also SMS verification. And eventually, if you want to extract that private key, we have a specific link where you can just put in your email address and you can get your private key and put it on MetaMask once you get more familiar with Web3 eventually. Yeah, so for that, we have integrated different on-ramp services such as Ramp Network, MoonPay, and Transact, and these guys take care of the KYC for the specific user. So if fiat is used, they manage that for us. And for crypto, I mean, we're fully decentralized, so we don't need to do KYC.
You show us mainly swap and buy on spot coin. Will there be any interaction with DeFi option protocol, like future perps, etc.?
Yeah, we're looking into that. We're definitely wanting to add on-chain leverage and stuff like that for users, but that's coming later. Any other questions or remarks, feedbacks? And guys, don't hesitate to, yeah.
How do we avoid the users that are not familiar with DeFi and scams to not buy those kind of tokens?
You mean like scam tokens,
Yeah.
which are, yeah. So this is not something we are gonna build. Eventually, there's scam tokens. So it'll be a bit like Uniswap when you want to buy, and they tell you like, oh, this is not on our list. It could be a scam, and so for that, we're gonna add like directly on the list. This could be a scam coin, but eventually, we want to have people have the ability to buy tokens before they go on centralized exchanges, before they go 10x or 100x eventually. So that leaves us with probably 90% of the coins which are scam, but 10% which are amazing projects in some cases. All right, guys, don't hesitate to test it. You can just scan the QR code and create an account, and have a play around. It's a closed beta, so still a lot of stuff that we need to fix and get better. But you can have a quick look around and see what we've built.